Hello and welcome to my podcast, Your Total Glow, your podcast for your body, mind and soul, to support, guide and empower you to uncover your most glowing, healthiest and feel-good version of you. I am super excited that you are here because if you ask me, there's nothing that looks and feels better. In today's episode, I'm speaking with the wonderful Barb Hawken. Barb is a go-to menopause fitness coach, and she believes in making simple tweaks in the kitchen and in the gym. She works with high-achieving, career-minded women, helping them to lose weight in menopause. This is a beautiful interview, and Barb shares her own story and struggles with hypothyroidism and her gaining and then losing 40 pounds. Barb shares her perspective on how to lose weight and your belly fat in menopause. She shares with us how and what to eat and how to train to uncover your most glowing self during that time. This interview is beautiful, and it is for you if you would like to dive deeper into Barb's perspective on how to uncover your best version of you in menopause. Please enjoy. Hello and welcome, beautiful Barb. I am so excited that you are here with me today. How are you?
Hey, great. Thank you so much.
So I can't wait to jump into this conversation because there's a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and experience that you will share with my audience. But maybe let's start with, could you please introduce yourself to my listeners? Who are you? The big question. Who is Barb? And why are you so passionate about what you do?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So I'm Barb Hawken, and I started my fitness journey in high school. I was about 17. We didn't really call it a fitness journey back then, but I started teaching aerobics, just kind of fell in love with it. And fast forward a little bit, when I quit aerobics and I moved to the town where I am now, I very quickly gained, about 30 pounds. Was really depressing part of my life. It was, no self-esteem. I just couldn't believe it. And I allowed myself to eat chocolate ice cream every day. And I went to the beach. It was just something different. And then one day I was fed up and I said, oh, Barb, you've got to stop. Right. And so I decided to get myself back in shape. And I vowed to myself that I would never let myself get that undisciplined with food again, because I was just so depressed by it. And I never told anybody. I mean, I since married, had 4 children. I never peeped a word to anybody. It was like my promise to myself. So when I was 47, it was my second kind of, we call it this kind of a turnaround, if you will, because I homeschooled our 4 sons. And so I stopped lifting. I've always lifted and exercised, but I had to take about 8 years off from lifting. I did play tennis, I did Pilates, things like that, but I became skinny fat. I had kept my promise to myself to really stay disciplined. So I was right about the same amount of weight that I'd always been since high school, but I didn't really like the way my body was. It was kind of, pancake butt. And I thought, gosh, I think I can do better than this. So I joined a gym and got myself back in shape the next, it took me a little bit longer because I was chronically under eating like a lot of my clients when they come and see me. Then lockdowns hit a few years later. And I also went into menopause, and I looked around and there weren't any kind of resources for my friends, my sisters, and I had done a lot of research. So I decided to start my own online business because I had been working out, coaching, and doing everything since a young age. And I just wanted to help other gals. So that's what I did over 3 years ago.
Amazing. And I couldn't be more excited that you are finally sharing all your knowledge, all your wisdom, and especially menopause is such an important topic. And I feel it's still a topic that not many are talking enough about, it still feels a little bit like a taboo, you know.
Yeah.
We better keep it to us and are silent about it, which is such a shame, because obviously we, all of us women, go through it. And if we can empower each other with experience and knowledge, it's so much better. And
Yeah.
I also believe that it doesn't have to be a painful journey. But yeah, you are the expert here, so I can't wait to dive into this topic, particularly with you. So thank you so much. So, okay, where to start? Is it really true that every single woman, when going into menopause, will completely change her body composition and hold on to belly fat? And why is this the case? And what can we do against it? Wow, I'm bombarding you here. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Great question. So I can't definitively say every single woman, right? Because it really varies. There's so many factors. However, I can tell you is, yes, you hit the nail on the head. Every single woman will go through menopause. And for some gals, it's quite shocking because they like, wow, I can't believe this. And so what happens is your estrogen drops, right? Progesterone, testosterone, all the sexual hormones, plus all the major hormones then are in disruption. And that the average age right now is 51. Coincidentally, that's when I went into it. But there are other, women that go much earlier and some later. And you start kind of feeling the symptoms, whether you pinpoint it or not. At least I did in my 40s. I was doing Pilates and then I thought, gosh, this is like more challenging because my lower belly, it really is the lower belly that you start seeing like a little bit more fat accumulation. And that is the drop in estrogen. So your fat redistributes itself throughout the body. It's pretty phenomenal. And it's just wild. And also what happens is we lose upper butt and quad, your front of your thigh muscle. And so it's pretty startling, and it happens very, very quickly. So about 2 years from the onset until full blown, post menopause. And that's why I really love getting gals in perimenopause. I'm like, great, we still have your hormones, even though you can still get in rock star shape and change your body post menopause. I just kind of like it, it's just great for any of those younger girls, especially in your 30s or 40s that are listening. Say, you know what? Yeah, let's get it. Because the thing of it is, you only have to get in shape once, just one time in your life, and then you can stay that way. Like me, I got in shape again. I mean, I committed to it when I was younger, but I was a definite skinny fat and did not eat enough. And so I really struggled because in our society, it's kind of, at least in America, skinny society is the way we grew up. So a lot of women only eat 1,200 calories a day, not nearly enough protein. And so when they do start lifting, because they know, yeah, I really need to start lifting, Barb, but it's a real struggle for the mindset for them to eat enough. And I was like that. And we do too much. I was working out 6 days a week. And so we're so exhausted, but then we're in denial. Oh, I can handle it. I'm a mom. I only need to sleep 5 hours a night. No problem. And it's just this cycle because Superwoman, right? And we're really, really getting burnout. And so the central nervous system starts to kind of, break down a little bit. So you want to eat enough. But anyway, and so it's a challenge because actually, if you don't eat enough, your fat will hang on to the belly to protect all those precious organs right there. So it's more and more women are realizing that, but it's still hard. I mean, I know because I was one of them. It's really hard to tell a woman to eat more food.
And to put it into practice, I so hear you, and I so can relate to my clients. Most of them come to me not eating enough. For most of them, this is the problem. in combination with stress, what you have mentioned too.
Yeah.
And the tricky bit with the stress is that we get so accustomed to it that we don't even know how stressed our bodies truly are, which is quite dangerous. And yes, you also said so eloquently that we are all those super women. And I feel there is a little bit of a problem with society as well, because we are meant to juggle so many roles now, and it's just normal. And you look outside and there are all these other super women and they can do it so perfectly, what it seems. So of course we feel like we have to do it as well. And most of us don't really have the support of families or communities anymore. So it's quite a challenge. I can really relate to what you're saying. So how do we change this? I mean, you already mentioned not eating enough, and I really, really agree with you. And I even think not only for those who are lifting, but in general, I think that most women are really not eating enough. So how can we change this? What are your tips? And it doesn't really have to come in terms of calories, but if you want to speak in terms of calories, you can do so. I'm not a big fan of calculating everything in calories, because I think that's overcomplicating, but I don't mind. So just so that we get a general understanding of how much we actually meant to eat.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we break it down, because someone will say, I don't eat a lot, but yet they're 30 pounds overweight. So sometime in their life, right, they did eat too much. And so it sneaks on and they realize that, and they're true. It's like, gosh, I need to eat less because I have to lose this weight, right? But what happens is they're eating too less and they're not exercising. So something happens in middle life. It is a middle life phenomenon that women just kind of stop moving. And now we've had lockdowns and people are still trying to get over that, right? They're used to working at home now, which is totally different. And, more sedentary, we're all working on our computers. And so we need to be more active and then eat the right kinds of food. So definitely more, protein. You hear that a lot. Definitely more protein and complex carbs. So it's the kind of not so much grains, but particularly maybe rice, potato, something really close to nature. We know the simple sugars are not going to serve us well. Those are the yummy ones like muffins and cakes and pies. We want to stay clear of those. They're not going to serve us well at all. And so what happens is you might find a client or a friend that is only consuming, let's say, 1,000 calories a day, but on the weekend, or, there's someone's office party, or I'm doing something, I'm going to go have a couple cocktails. And so on the weekend, they're not really pigging out, if you will. They're just eating enough. So now they're no longer in a deficit and they're eating at a surplus, or at least maintenance. So they're not going to lose any weight. But during the week, it's such a deficit that they're not healthy. They're not feeding their body well. And like for me, I wasn't gaining or losing, but I was eating the wrong kinds of foods because I was a mom. I was so busy homeschooling my 4 sons that I would pop a muffin, right? And which is kind of the worst thing because it's a simple carb. And so I would eat that, and then I would I didn't even eat Greek yogurt back then. I would just like Danimal, or just awful. And so it was calories and food, but it wasn't the right kind, right? It did not give me energy. I was so tired all the time. And then if I tried to work out, it wasn't any kind of food for me to build any lean muscle tissue. It was just barely keeping me alive, really, because I was exercising so much. And so when someone comes to me, and like your clients, we want them to eat more, but I've realized the mindset is, I can't have them adding 500 calories a day. They would break down, right? Their mindset can't handle that. So piano, we might just add 200 calories for the first week, right? Okay, let's see how that goes. How do you feel? Usually when we change their diet into very clean eating, no processed foods, they end up feeling really terrific, right? They're no longer bloated, because a lot of the belly fat of women, it's really not fat, it's bloat. Okay. You're eating inflammatory foods, things that you shouldn't, we know that, maybe too much wine or just even one. It's just some people, and nutrition is so specific to the people. So it's really looking at someone's diet and how do they feel after foods, getting them to eat a little more so that they can move more also and have energy.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I also think it's really important to go in little steps at a time. So it's not overwhelming, especially when this mindset about, oh, I don't want to lose more weight. And if I eat more, of course, I lose more weight, because this is what we've learned all along, or what we've believed in all along. The more we eat, the more gain we put on. But you said it so beautifully. Yes and no. It depends on what we eat and how we eat, obviously. So if we are not eating enough for our bodies to be really thriving and to be sustained well, then of course at some point we will be experiencing cravings, and our body will always have the upper hand and will make sure, like you said, on the weekends we might not be picking out or binging, but we'll make sure we eat enough. And the body is like, oh, this is fun, but we're gonna hold on to this because, oh my goodness, all the other days she's not eating enough. And also we will very likely not eat the right foods then, so we won't have those amazing green smoothies.
Yeah.
But like you said, rather have a drink or have this muffin, because we really, really need it and have had those cravings all week long. So it's a little bit of a vicious cycle. So how do we, and you also mentioned that, yes, also we are less active because obviously we are more fatigued, and all really plays together. And yes, with what has happened in our crazy world lately with all the lockdowns, and now everyone working more from home, being even more inactive, of course, all of this plays together. Yeah. So how important is exercise to help or work against this skinny fat that you have mentioned a few times? And you also mentioned, doing a lot of cardio is making you even more exhausted. So are we meant to do mainly lifting, or can we do some cardio? What exercise does really help to change our body composition, make us feel stronger, have us gain energy, and also lose that belly fat?
Right. Yeah, great question. So I always encourage gals definitely to prioritize lifting. Cardio has its place. So if you are needing to lose fat, right, and that's what I do in my clients. And so, yeah, I like to get steps in. I don't like any clients to do high intensity or running. Number one is the increase of injury, especially with running. High intensity, if it's too long, which, in America, at least, you go to a class, you pay whatever, $30. You expect some time out of that, right? High intensity zone 5 training specifically is great 1 to 2 times a week for like 12 minutes. No one's going to drive to a boutique studio, pay money for 12 minutes. Okay. So you have the elaborate warm up, the dynamic, and then you're going to work out for like 25 or 30 minutes. It's pretty exhausting, especially in a class. I've done it. I speak from experience. Then you're pretty exhausted. It's not like you're going to wimp out. Anytime in a group setting, most people are pretty competitive. I'm going to do this, and you work a little bit harder than you should, and which is cool, but then you're really exhausted. And so the whole idea is you have to recover so that you can lift your heavier weights, even if it's dumbbells, because that's how you build the muscle. So high intensity training is just like cardio, just like running or biking. It will shrink your entire body. So your body needs oxygen to breathe, muscle takes up a lot of oxygen. So your body's like, you know, if you're running along and your body's like, wow, this girl's really huffing and puffing, let's unload some of this muscle so she can breathe a little better. That's what your body is for, to keep you healthy. So then that's why you notice people who do a lot of high intensity training, their whole body, sure, will shrink, right? It's the same body type composition, like you said, it just gets smaller. You don't get like the hot rock and bod from doing high intensity training. You get the hot rock and bod, the sculpting muscles, the lean muscle from lifting, progressively overloading your muscle. Then after that, if you say, you know, I really need to lose a little bit of fat, I always suggest walking, biking, swimming after you lift though, or a very separate time later in the day, you know, 8 hours, 10 hours later after you've had plenty of food, which is fuel, some rest, and then you can go do some really long state cardio. Zone 2 cardio is what we call it. That will help shave off, if you will, the extra calories, because you need to be in a deficit to lose the fat.
Great. Yeah. I quite like also the idea of being able to nose breathe while you exercise, because this alone will make sure that you are, or while you're doing that cardio you were talking about, this alone will make sure that you can't go beyond that zone. And it will also ensure that you are still switched on in your parasympathetic nervous system. So not accumulating all this stress and being completely worked out like you described before, which I think is a real big part of this whole discussion that we are having here. So love what you are saying. So how long does it take someone who wants to change their body composition? Now they are listening to you, now they are hearing this, and they say, yes, I need this, I want to change, I want to eat more, I want to eat the right foods, I want to start moving my body in a way so that I can feel strong again, that I can feel sexy again and have energy. Can you talk us a little bit through the steps in terms of exercise and in terms of diet as well? You've touched a little bit upon it, you know, eating all those good foods, but also how long does it take one? How quickly can we feel better?
So when I have a client come to me, first we do an assessment and I see, has she been eating in a deficit or a surplus? And so this is where, you know, she'll be honest with me and say, you know, Barb, I really have been eating too much. That's why I have just gained 15 pounds. And I love that, because if a client has truly been eating maintenance to a surplus, she's at a really great place that now she can eat less. Okay, so that's different than someone who, you know, I can look and, wow, you're having 1,000 calories. If she only has 1,000 calories, then we will work slowly to add more in. She's going to get stronger. She will change her body. So 2 different ways, but I like to tell clients the first 8 to 10 weeks is the fat, you know, reduction stage. Okay. Yes, you're going to be getting lean muscle, but you know, you have to, you know, it depends on a client. I need, you know, 97% compliance, which means every single day that you have a workout, I need you doing that. I need you to follow, you know, this good, great eating plan. I teach my clients, I don't like to give a meal plan. I teach them about macros, about food. You know, they're not going to be a slave to the tracking and the measuring, but they really do need to know about food, you know, whole foods, non-processed foods. So it took me a year, right? Over a year, actually. But I learned the hard way. I was very, you know, kind of prideful, and I didn't eat, you know, I was like, oh, I got this. I can handle this. But I knew, but it was when I started eating more, then my body changed immediately. So it does take months, if not a year, you know, especially at our age. We see transformations all over the internet. And I've had gals, you know, I look 5 weeks later, I'm like, dang, you know, and they're older, 62. They were like, however, they lost a bunch of weight, right? 30 pounds, but their body composition wasn't there yet. So when you think of body composition, it really is, you know, getting that lean muscle, which does take time. I mean, it really does take many months, because we can only gain us gals, starting around 40, 1/4 to 1/2 pound a month of lean muscle tissue. And that's if everything is perfect. If you think, I mean, I travel a lot and I'm thinking, wow, did I really get my protein yesterday? Probably not, so it wasn't perfect. Because if you're traveling and you're dining out, which all my clients do, you have to have that lifestyle. And so what I teach clients is still have your lifestyle, but you still can get, the body that you want. We're not going to, throw it all away when you're traveling. And so this is what I'd like you to do. And so it does take a good, I would say 6 months for most, at least, clients. I've had, in fact, my girlfriend came onto my program last year. I'm like, okay, this is what you're going to do. Now she trusts me. She knew me. We homeschooled our kids together. And it was cute because after the second week, she goes, Barb, can I eat other food? And I said, well, you came to me because you wanted to lose weight. You want to get sculpted. You want your body back. So you can if you want to, but I wouldn't. I didn't. This is what I ate. And you wanted to do this. She goes, no, I'm going to do exactly what you said. And she did. And it's 6 months. I mean, she really looked phenomenal. And it was amazing because I never saw her in person, even though I used to always see her in person. She did it totally online. And she sent me her videos because that's what clients do. And I could see, it's like, wow, your legs, through her leggings, it's just her arms, everything became toned because she, every single day, did everything that, I kind of told her to. And she followed the plan beautifully. And so after 6 months, I said, you don't need me. It's like, she was done. She had learned everything. And that is always my goal, right? To teach the client how to eat, how to, really to make this sustainable. But a lot of people do need close to a year. They just work on different goals because the thing of it is, we used to say this in homeschool. It's Thursday. If I give up on my kids now, it's like, Friday is the cookie day, right? It's that extra that they really learn. Same with getting in shape. Some people get close and then they say, oh, it's just so long. Once they get, if you could, and that almost happened to me because I wasn't eating up like my body's really not, I'm getting muscle, but it was just some areas. And then when I started eating more, boom, game changer. 12 weeks, I was like, wow, I can't believe this. And so that's what happens. Just I would give it a year because all you have to do is one time. You get in shape one time. And if you give yourself a year, you will know how to stay in shape for sure, because you've got it down. It is now your lifestyle. Because if you think about it, a year, you've traveled a lot, you've dined out a lot, and yet you're still getting in shape, which is beautiful. And because especially if you're in menopause, all those changes happening and still being able to maintain or to get in shape, yeah, you'll have no problem later on.
I completely agree with you because also with that, obviously your taste buds then change and adapt to the way you're eating now. So you will love all those foods. You will taste them in a completely different way because you're not overstimulating your taste buds with all those sugary, salty, preservative loaded foods anymore. And then the same things on a slower level happens with your hormones. And when they are in a better place, obviously you don't have those cravings anymore. Now you're also eating enough, you're feeling great, and your body, wants this again. So your whole physiology is changing, and it becomes this beautiful cycle of love and bliss, I would really call it. So, and I think if you think about it, a year is not long. We are talking here about most women being in their midlife, if you can call it that, around their 50s. And so how long have we maybe not been treating our bodies so nicely? So 1 year is really nothing, is it, in that life cycle? So I think that's very quick. And I always even think the slower we can go about this change, the easier it is for our bodies to adapt. And the easier it also is to maintain that beautiful transformation that we are achieving. So I think you're amazing, you know, if when you say you achieve those changes even in 6 months, I think that is really quick. That is an amazing result with your clients. So I quite like the idea of nurturing and nourishing our bodies most of the time, but also allowing like maybe 10%, depending on the person, on the mindset, but also 10 to 20% of, okay, we can also have those foods that we truly love without guilt. What's your take on that? Is that still possible in menopause, or are we talking about a different concept here?
As far as foods?
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, most foods are permissible, right? You can make the choice. What I do is pretty disciplined at home. I eat 15 foods. Most people only do eat 15 foods. They might eat the wrong 15 foods. So once you have your non-processed foods and they work for you, it's just so simple. It's like, you know, there's no recipes. It's just food. And it's just quick, it's simple, it saves a lot of time. You always know what you're going to eat. And then I can enjoy myself when I go out to eat, believe it or not, and eat escargot if I want to. But I also lift. And so a lot of gals, I don't like to really put what I eat on the internet a lot, because I'm a very heavy lifter, right? I'm a power lifter. I have the state record in the state of Florida is powerlifting. And so it really does matter. If you're just going to like Pilates or bar class, then I would not eat a big sweet potato and ribeye steak with escargot in the beginning. It's just not going to, you don't need it. And so you probably would gain weight. If I was doing heavy squats and, you know, single pistol squats afterwards and, you know, doing things like that, I mean, a really heavy max day, I need a lot of food. Okay. So it really depends. And that's why a coach comes and talks. That's why I program one-on-one, you know, programming for my gals solely for them, for their function, their mobility, where they are in life and their goals. And so everyone usually wants to have some lean muscle mass, but if you're someone that really doesn't have the strength or the intensity and you're just, you know, lifting 4 kilos, that's it, and kind of slowly, you know, that then your diet, believe it or not, does need to be a little on the lower side. So I don't like to give up any food, but again, like you and I were talking about, it's what kind of foods are really best for you. I mean, my birthday was on Friday, so yes, I had birthday cake. Was it the best thing? Is it part of my 15 foods? No, but I always make the choice. I've always said it's my plate. It's my choice. I know the ramifications. You know, if I have the glass of wine, you know what it is, and you have to be willing to live with that and not say, well, I mean, I went to Europe this summer, you know, on our trip for 2 weeks and I gained 4 pounds. I can't come back and say, gee, Barb, I wonder how, you know, is it menopause, and start blaming things when I know darn well why I gained, because we were as a family and I ate a lot. You know, I mean, that's really what happens. And so now I have to, you know, own it up on myself and then lose that if I choose to and eat that way. So it's all about a choice. You know, it's the food that we get to eat. It really is pretty fantastic to be able to eat clean, non-processed foods, to have that available to us, for sure.
I couldn't agree more. And I love what you just said, you know, making empowered choices and owning that. I think this is so, so important. And for me, this is what makes all the difference. And this is also what I inspire to, like you, give my clients too, because often they come and they wonder, they're like, I don't know what happened. I've been trying to do all the right things, yet my body seems to be against me. I'm like, no. Our bodies are always for us. They're always backing us up. So let's have a look. And then, you know, we can unravel and I can explain what happened. And I think this is what's so frustrating. So if you can give them their power back and they can make empowered choices, and they know, okay, yeah, I wanted to do this, I've done this, so now I'm also dealing with the consequences and I'm owning that. I really, really, really love that. I think this is, yeah, this makes you feel different. This gives you the self-confidence back. So I love that. So Barb, tell me, we've been speaking about the diet, we've been speaking about the exercise. What other changes can we expect? So obviously we'll have more energy. And how does this translate with our sleep? Do we still feel hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, or will this also be more minimized? Yeah, walk us through.
Yeah, so it really varies from woman to woman, but usually that's how you kind of know you're going into menopause: night sweats, hot flashes, no energy, especially at night. So there, for gals who want to go on bioidenticals, that gets your hormones level, protects you from certain cancers also, because when you go into menopause, because of the lack of estrogen, then your diabetes, that increases the risk of type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, dementia, and so, and cardiovascular disease. So all of these do increase the risk for every menopausal women. So if you go on bioidenticals, that helps. And of course, exercise being the number one thing right now to prevent dementia. I have the dementia gene. That's why it's very passionate for me. And my mom has dementia. So knowing that, right, it's in a lot of women, it's just the osteoporosis, that's why you have to lift for bone strength. So if you still have the hot flashes, there are some herbs, early on, but it's not knowing how long it's going to last. Your body is miraculous. You don't have to go on HRT. There's a lot of gals that can't, cancer survivors and such, but your body will get used to the all new low, your low hormones. We call it postmenopausal, and your body can get on that. So that's where the mindset is really, really important, because it happened to me, complacency set in, which was really surprising. I had my business and my life is great. And I didn't feel like getting up in the morning. It was really weird. I didn't, say a word to anybody, not my sons, not my husband. I knew it was menopause, and I was just going to get through it. I never wanted to utter a word or talk about it, because then it's a thing, right? I didn't want to name it. And I just forged through, but I know it was menopause, and it happens to others. It's complacency. And so you really the mindset is so key, because depression can set in for the menopause gal. It's just a hormonal thing. Now, I was on HRT at the time, and it still happened. So just because you're on HRT, a lot of gals think, oh, I'm just going to get in great shape because I'm taking bioidenticals. Doesn't work like that. You still have to lift. You still have to eat really good. I tell people the HRT helps your insides, okay? Because when you go through menopause, sex hurts. You don't have libido. You don't have testosterone. And so by giving the bioidenticals, then that is restoring that vigor and vitality of your life, so you can have quality of life. Okay. And the complacency and any depression will definitely be minimized, but really just kind of knowing a little bit about that, and you can really have the mindset, is what I think. Mindset is everything for your whole life, right? Just get up, get your workout in. There's no gold ribbon if you're the happiest person at the gym, right? I mean, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're motivated and happy to work out, just get up and get it done, because you will end up having more energy. You'll be stronger for it. You'll have more muscle. You'll be healthier, right? Your bones will be stronger, because everything I just talked about, those diseases all can be minimized with a healthy diet, no processed foods, and the right kind of weight bearing exercise.
I couldn't agree more with you. And I feel, yes, mindset is super important, and it especially to gain hope again, because I think this is what often happens, that we feel like, okay, this was it now. And this is how it has to be. We can't, we all know that post menopause, you have a belly, I don't know, your skin doesn't look great anymore and all these things. It's just a normal sign of aging. I don't believe that. Yes, we get older, but I don't believe that it has to be that way. I think this is the way we have created it, the way we are living now. So I'm a huge fan of Ayurveda and of those old sciences. And I can see that, you know, those women looked great until really old age. So I really believe there's a different way. And I feel giving those women that hope, that knowledge through you, looking at you, you know, you're glowing. There is a different way. And then, yes, then we can tap into that mindset. And this is also why it is important to have a coach at your side if you haven't been able to do it alone. So please, please, please reach out to Barb. She is absolutely amazing. Obviously, she walks her talk. You can see that very clearly. I love what you do. So tell us, Barb, where can we find you?
Yeah, thank you. So I have my website, Barb Hawken Wellness, also on Instagram, barb.hawken. Facebook is the same. You know, I'm always around. I'm very reachable, interactive, always on, you know, in the DMs. Yeah, that's where I hang out.
Fantastic. And of course, I will put all of this in the show notes. Barb, can you just share with my audience 3 quick gold nuggets so that they have 3 quick, beautiful things they can hang on to or they can remember? I mean, you've shared so many amazing things with us, but just 3 quick gold nuggets, please.
I would say I always say be an everyday athlete. That means just get out and move your body every day. And it's an easy thing to remember. It's like, okay, what would an athlete do today? How would an athlete eat today? She would be very prepared. So you want to move like an athlete and you want to eat like one, meaning really whole, fresh foods, always having something available. So prepping your food, even just for the day. Okay, put it in a glass container. You want to do that. And then number 1, really before that, is have a mindset of an athlete. If you notice, they never quit. They want to. Trust me, they want to quit often. They don't really talk about it. Maybe their coach, maybe themselves. But if you have those 3 things, mindset of an athlete, move like an athlete, and really eat like an athlete, for me, at least, it's been a winning combination because we all want to feel sorry for ourselves a lot of times. Like, oh, you know, I can't lose these last 5 pounds. Why is this belly? Because menopause, right? I personally have gained, you know, for 3 straight seasons, purposely gained weight in menopause and then lost it because I don't weigh a lot. And then I thought, okay, I need for health to gain some weight. And then I do it for experiment too. I'm like, because women are like, oh, you're lucky, you must have great genes, genetics. And it's like, no, I don't. And so I purposely would gain. And I thought it would give me some more power for my powerlifting, but it doesn't. And so the last time that I we call it shredded, oh boy, it took me about 14 weeks. I always go nice and slow because I don't want to lose muscle, right? I only want, but I said to my husband, oh, I was 53. I think I've done myself in because the scale didn't move for 5 weeks because I always eat maintenance, but I would just increase my steps. And so we want to be, you know, feel sorry. And I thought, okay, what would an athlete do? You know, I just kind of told myself, how would an athlete, everyday athlete, she's going to be prepared. She's not going to cry about it, right? She's going to go out there and conquer.
I love that. And I also really love that you shared with us those 5 weeks where you couldn't see any differences, any changes, but you hang in there. And I think this is the key. Again, I can see and hear that so often in my clients, but nothing is happening. I'm trying so hard. I'm doing it. And yes, it is happening, but very often you can't see it straight away. It takes a while. The body takes a while to really come back into balance. So even someone who is so dedicated like you, who has so much knowledge, who, like you said, has gained the weight on purpose, even for someone like you, it might take 5 weeks until you can see and feel it. And yes, you've mentioned this all the time throughout the podcast, that we are all very different. So it's important to take that aspect into account too. But I think you and I can really promise that if you nourish and nurture your body the way Barb has just spoken about, you will see changes. Absolutely. Oh, Barb, I could speak to you forever. This has been amazing. Is there anything that you would still like to mention that we haven't touched upon?
I think we touched upon so much. I so appreciate, the time, Billy. It's been great.
Fantastic. And Barb, I couldn't thank you enough for helping so many women to feel beautiful in their amazing bodies again. This is such an important work. Obviously, women are ruling the world, I believe. So, and as we get older, I feel we are getting wiser. So it is even more important to feel amazing in our beautiful selves. And obviously, it is possible, it is doable. So I couldn't thank you enough for helping me and so many others to make our world a healthier, happier, and more glowing place. Thank you so much, Barb.
Thank you so much.
Take care. I hope you love and enjoy my podcast. And if you do, then please help me to make our world a healthier, happier place. And you can do so by sharing, liking, and subscribing to my podcast, because this will help others to find the content in this podcast too. I know that you were born to live your best life, to feel absolutely wonderful in your beautiful body, your brilliant mind, and your boundless soul. So what are you still waiting for? Please make sure you do. I'm your biggest cheerleader. Keep glowing. Much love.